And here we are. We're live. So far, nobody showed up yet. I did have a message from two of our classmates saying, one of them saying that her nephew's third birthday party was tonight, and another one saying that her family's in town for just a few days and she didn't want to miss a minute with them. And, that's how these times are. It's very hard to schedule a weekly event that everyone will come to every session. And then the young man, uh, he was here Sunday at church, and he said, "Well, I'll see you Tuesday." So maybe he's late. Could be that he might have given up trying to come because my car is not here. My car overheated today, and I had to have it towed to a service center, automotive service center. And so I don't have a car. But no problem, because, I just live across the street from the church. So I just trot on over here. And but people don't see my car. They might say, "Oh, she's not here." But anyway, I cherish this time to sit down and be one-on-one with perspiration is falling in my eyes. One-on-one with anybody, you guys. If he's here, I was going to do a Q&A with him, a question and answer. Because there's so much to learn right now. There's so much to catch on to open our minds to perceive new ways of looking at the world. And I just think that here he is being in a unity community affords, we're the perfect arena for that. Come on in and sit down. I was just telling our studio audience at home that the other two regular attenders told me they can't be here. So I was going to do a Q&A with you, like if you could come up with some questions and we could talk about areas that you're curious about.
Areas that I'm curious about.
Yeah, if you have any. Yeah. So we could have a discussion.
This is about a surprise.
I know it's a surprise. You don't have to, but I have to get a Kleenex because my salty perspiration is falling in my eyes. Hold on a second here. Oh. So I was thinking you might give up trying to come because my car is not here.
Oh.
My car had to be towed because it overheated.
Oh.
And I don't have a car right now, so.
I have to get a tire realignment on mine.
Oh.
I have an appointment on it's supposed to be Friday, but I'm dropping it off Thursday night.
So do you want to say hello to the audience at home?
Hi.
There's Edward. He does a great job leading us in the offering blessing and the daily word. He's our second in command of the platform assistant when Jerry Neer is not around. Yeah. And he does a great job. Edward does. So let's just have a prayer to open. Would you like to lead it?
Let's see.
You can say no or yes.
You can.
Okay, he says I can. All right, but you can sometime because Edward's really good at these things. Okay, so just breathe into being in this moment where we are ready to discover the privileges of being in the spiritual path of ever greater, ever widening horizons of possibility. That we let go of the concerns and all of the unfortunate mistakes that are being made. And we hold the space for a place of blessing the earth, protecting the environment, cherishing the wildlife, maintaining peace and harmony with each other. Freedom, equality, mobility, responsibility for all people everywhere for the greater good. That's what we're about. And as we just hold that space in thought, we know that we are attracting it and creating it to be demonstrated moment by moment in the world by everyone, everywhere, as one united humanity. And that's why we call ourselves unity, because we are in oneness. And thank you, God. Amen. Okay. I brought you a book. I'm going to tell you what it is. And this is part of the class, because we were going to talk about this new idea called spiral dynamics. And spiral dynamics is is a whole theory of society and humanity. And here's the book. It's under my laptop. Will you get it?
Oh,
Yeah.
I've seen this before.
Okay. I need to. Yeah. Let me show it to the camera. Okay. But it takes so much effort to teach it and explain it. I'm not going to try to do it with just one person here, okay? I'm not going to try to do it with just one person here, just you here. I mean, it really, it's like shoveling a heavy, load of weighty material. It's very difficult to explain spiral dynamics. And, but yet it's something that the unity movement embraces, like the people at headquarters, the people who are at the Unity Worldwide Ministries offices, they talk in terms of spiral dynamics. They say, well, that's a yellow idea, yellow being a certain period of social evolution. Or they say, well, that's a purple idea. And they use color, it's a color coded for the different epochs of evolution. And they don't even bother to explain it. Everybody just knows what it is, and they just use it as part of their communication style. So it's really embedded into our movement now. But here's what I thought you might like, Edward, is that these guys, Don Beck and Christopher with Cowan, they have co-partnered with these other people and formed what's called the Integral Institute, which is kind of like the brain trust of the academic world right now. And this is one of the guys they partnered with, Ken Wilber, genius philosopher of New Age theory. And so this was one of our textbooks in ministerial school, No Boundary. And it refers to the idea that when you experience consciousness awakening and you expand into a state of enlightenment, or what Jesus would have called the kingdom of heaven, the boundaries between you and the rest of the cosmos dissolve, so that there's no boundary between you, between self and other. That's what he referred to. So if you want to borrow this and read it, I think it's real stimulating, because it goes over all the stages of development of individual people. But I'm not lending out this because I need that for myself. But you can borrow it later, if you want to read it. Okay.
I still have another book I borrowed from you that I need to get cracking on reading.
Well, if you ever decide that the book you've borrowed is too dense or too convoluted, you don't, you can abandon it. So sometimes these things these Unity books are.
I haven't started it yet. I need to start on it to decide whether or not it's like very dense or.
Yeah. Because spirituality, it's really can be very simple. Spirituality is simply understanding the oneness of everything. Mm-hmm. But then on the other hand, it can be very, like a tree, all these different offshoots and subjects and people and works and things. And one of the things I'd really like to have happen in this ministry is that people become familiar with all the spiritual pioneers we have, which is why I'm calling it the 5 basic principles and beyond, because we've already talked about
let's see.
Rupert Sheldrake. Last week we talked about
I know we saw a video on the author of Collapse.
That's who I'm talking about. The author of Collapse, and also Guns, Germs, and Steel. And also, what's the other one he wrote besides Upheaval? Upheaval was his first one. And his name is, wait a minute, Guns, Germs, and Steel by, he's not coming to me. Such a nice name he has. Anyway, it'll come to us. Got a great New England accent, doesn't he?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then the Spiral Dynamics people, Don Beck is basically the name we work with there. And Ken Wilber, who's written many books he combines psychology and mysticism and philosophy. And these people that we've been in the Unity movement has sort of been following these different individuals, Ken Wilber and the Spiral Dynamics, and one other group, I forget who. And they themselves have gravitated toward each other and formed this I guess it's an institution. It's called the Integral Institute.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. You know about that?
Yeah.
Amazing. Edward does. It's, to me, it's out there. That's really out there. I could barely get my head around that stuff. And so tonight I'd like to just name a couple of guys that I also think we should all be familiar with. One of them is Matthew Fox. Now, Matthew Fox came to Unity Village when I was in ministerial school, spent a week there. And he's considered the world's leading theologian. He is formerly a priest. He was educated in Catholicism. He came through the education for, I don't know which brotherhood it is, but it's the most academically accomplished arm of Catholicism. But he was kicked out of the Catholic Church because he had, like Martin Luther, he nailed on the door, the same door that Martin Luther nailed things on. He nailed criticisms of the Catholic Church, reforms that he wanted.
Yeah.
And those reforms were things like accepting homosexuality.
Oh, yeah.
And so now he's out on his own, and he wrote a book called The Coming of the Cosmic Christ, which I have that book. And that's one of these books, like, there are certain books that I have to have that are the cornerstones of people's thinking, the breakthroughs in our understanding of religious philosophy and truth. And Matthew Fox is one of those people who is leading the thought, the most highly evolved way of thinking about God and the cosmos. So his book, The Coming of the Cosmic Christ, he says that the second coming of Christ is an awakening in the minds and hearts of people everywhere. Well, Charles Fillmore wrote that 100 years ago. Unity has always taught that.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Celebrity and fame and popularity have a lot to do with what gets noticed. So Matthew Fox's book, The Coming of the Cosmic Christ, just really exploded it for everybody to realize, the second coming is this cosmic Christ that is the idea or the nature of Christ that lives in everybody that's going to come into expression. He pulled that off, Matthew Fox did. He's an eloquent speaker. He founded several different institutions. For a while, he was leading something called the Wisdom University, which was a college for people who wanted to learn in a new model of education that he created. He's very much into education and an educator. So, and he has a very distinctive look. If I wasn't doing this live stream, I'd show you a picture of him on my computer. But try to look him up, Matthew Fox. Matthew Fox.
Would have to write it. So
yeah, he's probably in his 70s now, and he is really in such demand. Like if we were try to get him to come here to be a speaker for us, you'd probably have to wait over 10 years. You'd probably book that far in advance, and it would probably cost us over $15,000 for one appearance. That's how.
I'm surprised it doesn't cost more.
Well, maybe more, but I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Nothing we could afford. And I felt really lucky that when I'm going to put this under here because it's a better angle. Could you lift this up? Just lift this.
Okay.
Thank you. I felt really lucky when he came to our ministerial class because that was in 2006. They only had to wait 7 years for him to come. And he came during the year when I was there in school. I actually sat at lunch at the table where he was sitting and had lunch with him because he spent the week of our intensive week, the final week of our trimester, was him. Our intensive was Matthew Fox. And some of the things he taught us were that we should start having our spiritual, we should not call it a worship service. We should call it a gathering. We should call it a spiritual gathering. We should have our seating arranged in a circle so that everyone could see everyone else. And we should have movement. We should have dance. We should have activities where people touch each other and look at each other, where it's not all the minister looking at the congregation all looking at one person. They should be looking at each other. That's one reason why I want to get out of the sanctuary, because we can't move the pews.
Yeah.
We can adjust the formation of the seating in our classroom. So that's one thing I'm glad about. So I'm sitting next to him at lunch, and I say to him, so, Matthew, how did you get started on your spiritual path? And he said, when I was in high school, I read War and Peace, and I had a mystical experience from reading it.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about great literature. It does that to you, Anyway, so that's what he said. And I got to talk to him. And that week was in June, and it just so happened that the Sunday of that week was Father's Day. And he was the guest speaker for the Unity Church in Overland Park, Kansas for Father's Day. And so he gave a sermon called In Search of the Divine Masculine. I still have the recording of that if you want to ever listen to it.
Well,
It's one of the best talks I've ever heard of any kind. And he gave a 9:30 service and an 11 o'clock service. And I have a recording of both of those talks, which were the same talk, basically the same outline. But he gave a little different emphasis. And so I like to listen to both of them. But I have copies made of both of those talks that I give out to people when I get around to it. So if you want to get one of those, I'll have Autumn make one for you. Okay. Yeah. It's just incredible. He talks about how what he calls the divine feminine, or the Madonna, is coming back, and she's pissed.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that the Renaissance was an emergence of the divine masculine, that all of the cathedrals were actually, expressions of divine feminine. And just some incredible insights he gives in those talks. And so that's Matthew Fox I want people to know about. And then there's this other guy named Andrew Harvey. And it's so funny. Andrew Harvey was somebody I've been following his work for 15 years. He wrote a book called Radical Passion. And it's about activism from a spiritual place, from a place of spirituality. And he actually gave a week-long seminar at Unity School about 10 years ago. And they don't do it anymore, but every winter they used to have something called a Lyceum. And they'd have some great person come and do presents. So they had him come. Now he's, like Matthew Fox, he's booked so far in advance and his ticket is so high, you'll never get it. But I went out there to Kansas City. I took off from working here. I said, I got to go see Andrew Harvey. Who's Andrew Harvey? Andrew Harvey is the one who promotes spiritual activism. And he's been beating the drum forever to say, people, we've got to stop poisoning the waters, poisoning the soils, cutting down the trees, poisoning the air. We've got to stop. Yeah. And so I was there for 3 straight days with Andrew Harvey. And he is a great speaker. He was a priest also. But I think he somehow slipped out of that. But anyway, over the years, Andrew Harvey and Matthew Fox are now collaborators, and they appear at the same events all over the place, at these high-powered, summit conferences for new spirituality. You'll see Andrew Harvey and Matthew Fox and Marianne Williamson and maybe Deepak Chopra. You'll see Greg Braden. You'll see what's his name? Joe Dispenza and Dr. Bruce Lipton. Those are the big names now in New Age spirituality. So you want to know who all those people are. So tonight we're talking about Matthew Fox and Andrew Harvey, and then the other one is Greg Braden. Have you heard of him? So Greg Braden is a geologist, basically, who went totally outside the box, off the rails. I mean, I would say his what would identify him is that he's the one who says that the petroglyphs that have pictures on them of these beings with round circles over their head, that those are spacemen, okay? Yeah. It's obvious.
Yeah.
And he's gone all over the world and discovered information that reveals a whole different history of the origin of our species. And nobody likes him in the in the halls of academia, because not only does he present theories that are so against everything we've ever taught, but he has proof of it. And they still don't change their teachings, because he has this little story in one of his videos that he had a conversation with a college professor at one of his conferences. And he says to the professor, why are you still teaching the old information when you know it's incorrect? And the teacher said, because it's too expensive to change the textbooks. And then Greg Braden says, yeah, but textbooks are old technology. People are using electronic text now, and all it takes is a stroke of a key to change something. And he says, yeah, but if I change everything, it'll ruin my reputation for all the work that I've done over the past 30 years. And so Greg Braden says, yeah, but no, it won't. It'll show you that you're a real scholar. That's what scholars do, is that they find new information. And he says, no, but he says, And the guy just, for everything Greg Bid said, the guy had a reason why he couldn't adopt new information.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to be remembered as someone who's stuck in the past.
I know. Very good.
Yeah.
Edward says, I don't know if you want to be remembered as someone who's stuck in the past. Speak up, Edward. So we can get this on the video. Let's see if we can scoot up here a little bit. If you sit here, we'll be able to see you. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Even more. More, so you could look. See, you can only see you a little bit. Come on up. All the way here. Thank you. Okay, good. All right. Maybe I'll move. Oh, a little bit too. There. Okay. Oh. So do you have any questions? I mean, you just started coming here less than a year ago.
It was like pre-COVID, I think.
Yeah.
I remember, I think I went to an open mic here.
Right?
Well,
I remember too.
I did come here every now and then for like whenever there was a rummage sale.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Came to the rummage sale. So you're a longtime resident of the neighborhood.
Well, I know, I've been, I think, since 2009, I think. Well, my grandma lived here for years and years and years. And so even before I was a resident, I came to this neighborhood constantly to go to my grandma's house.
Okay. So I'm just curious. Was there any hook about the conversation of our actual spiritual work here that piqued your interest, or?
Let's say, I know there was a period where I wasn't going to church for a while because I was a Methodist for a lot of years prior to here.
Methodism is a very good background because they're very devoutly Christian. The people who founded Unity, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, were Methodists in their youth. Yeah. Because I just wonder, what can I emphasize to the public about what we're doing, about this work? What conversation holds, piques people's curiosity? I don't want to offend people. I don't want to say anything that, sounds like we're way out there in, woo-woo land or crazy pants land, but yet to show that we are a little different. We're kind of your alternative form of religion, maybe, But I don't know how to get that across. So how did it come across to you that this might have something of interest to you?
I think it was just a bit being an alternative form.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to use that word more, alternative.
Yeah, like spiritual, but yet not feeling like I was belonging to an organized religion.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't think when I was in Methodist, I don't think I had a problem with like fire and brimstone preachers.
No, of course not.
But I don't know. I think there was a newer wave of like Methodists coming in that were a bit cliquey.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We have to be really careful to avoid that anywhere, The good old boy or girl thing. I've had people come here who said they didn't come back because no one was friendly to them. And I know every single person here, whenever we have a new person, they're like all over them and say, oh, how did you find us? We're so glad to see you. How did you like it? Is there anything we can do to assist you in your spiritual quest? And because we are delighted when new people come. And we've had, I'd say about 6 people in the past year who found their way here, who just light up like a Christmas tree when they hear what we're talking about, what we're offering, And I do try as a minister what I'm saying in my sermon, when I write a sermon, I'm thinking, I want to say something that you can't find anywhere else. You can't find it in a bookstore. You can't find it on radio or television. You have to get up out of your bed and get over here to hear it. And yet it is the eternal truth. It's still the eternal truth, but I'm trying to find, as I say, alternative ways of exploring our own personal growth, our inner journey, our outer journey, and our lives. So, any thoughts? Any questions?
Well, I was just thinking about the things that you said.
Yeah. I was thinking of how could we create interest so people would, because people have just gotten used to staying home, and they mail in their attendance, they mail in their check or whatever, and
maybe some are just still afraid to go out.
You think?
Well, it might be COVID, and plus there's been talk in the news about the Delta variant.
Yeah.
When I heard about it, I wasn't surprised about it because I know that coronavirus is a virus that mutates, and it's just like, oh, it's just the virus mutating again.
Yeah.
But I think it's implanted in people's brains to kind of panic over the virus.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame, and I do think we have a reprieve right now. Like, at least it's at a low ebb. And by the way, I was asking you guys about whether you thought my daughter should bring her little girl, my granddaughter Aurora, who's 5, and they've decided they're going to come. Decided to come. They think it's not too risky this summer, at least,
And I think, in the summertime, it's like your immune system's stronger in the summertime as opposed to like flu season.
Yeah.
Where it gets colder outside and.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that happened in the survey that I sent out, that people, would like to have discussion groups and talent shows.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, the timing with a talent show is tricky because we've got the brick part of the church up for sale, which has the stage. And if that sells, we won't have a stage to do a talent show on.
Right.
So,
yeah, I remember you probably wouldn't be able to host them, have them like in the downstairs, even though I think the rooms are probably big enough for some talent show.
Well, we have to use the classrooms.
Yeah.
Maybe we could use the classrooms. Okay, I'll go ahead with that. If you think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And have a citywide, I want to call it a variety show, so that it's not like competitive. A talent show kind of means like who's the most talented. But a variety show. I don't
care about competition.
Yeah. It's not for that. It's not a contest, but it's to be inclusive to where a citywide musical variety show, or just variety show, so that we pull everybody who's got any kind of performance to give, a performance to offer, and use the proceeds to contribute to the food pantry program that Cooperative Churches does. They always need money for the food pantry. That would draw more participation in, I think.
Yeah, I used to volunteer at a food pantry, but we haven't lately, just due to COVID restrictions.
Yeah. I was also thinking about the time when we had such a full house when the movie star John C. Reilly was here. You know who he is?
Oh yeah, sounds familiar.
John C. Reilly.
Is he known as Dr. Steve Brule?
I don't think so.
Oh, John C. Riley. What's his?
Well, he's in the Dewey Cox Story. That's a comedy. He was in Step Brothers.
Oh yeah, I think that's the same guy.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, he had like snips. Like he played this character, Dr. Steve Brule.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, he's the voice for Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I know who he is.
But anyway, so he's a good friend of my daughter Becky.
Oh, he is.
And he took her and 6 other musicians on a tour to do music concerts because he's a really good singer and guitar player of Americana music, stuff like The Wayward Wind and music from the 50s and 40s and 60s. And so he did a free concert here at the church. And it was in the papers. John C. Riley is coming to town and he's going to perform at Unity Muskegon. This place was packed. People were hanging from the rafters. And it was free. And they passed a collection plate. He asked people to put money in the collection plate for the church. And we got $1,000 out of the deal. And I went with them. That their next concert was up in, what's that big city north of here? Ludington. And I traveled with them just to stay with Becky. So I was talking to Becky yesterday and I said, I'm thinking that one way to get people back into church would be to have some celebrity person like John C. Riley was here before, but I know he wouldn't be able to come back. I would doubt that. But I said to Becky, do you know any famous people, Becky, that would be willing to come and just give us a sermon and draw people back here?
I saw the Unity magazine with Carl Santana on the cover.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There are some celebrities like Alanis Morissette too is a Unity gal. So, do you know who I think would be perfect to come here and would really people would flock to hear, and Becky knows this gal and she's a good friend of hers. Yoko Ono. Yoko Ono would totally fill the bill.
She gets some undeserved hate.
But anyway, she is very well known, and a lot of people adore her, including me.
Mm-hmm.
And so Becky has gotten to know her because they both do a lot of work in Los Angeles for anti-war causes,
mm-hmm.
For peace causes. But of course, it's very tacky to approach someone and say, excuse me, I know you're so famous. Would you come and help us out? Because we're lame and we need somebody famous to get us noticed.
Maybe Yoko might be nice enough to do it.
I know. We're just a simple Unity church. We want people to come and play in our sandbox, and we can't get them up. We can't get them out of the house. Come on over here and get something to happen. Yeah. Becky's other good friends are she's friends with what's that gal's name who does the New Girl. She's on that. Zooey Deschanel.
Oh.
But Zooey Deschanel they were good friends at one point. I think they've kind of drifted apart, and Zoe's tied up with a lot of things. She's busy, and I don't know.
No, maybe there wasn't a
phone. Who was that you said before? Oh, Santana. Carlos Santana. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would he come?
How to approach him? Where is he at right now?
I don't know. I've never been a big fan of his.
I have one record of his.
Yeah.
I found it in a thrift store during when it was a depression time for vinyl.
His famous record that I'm aware of, I think, is Black Magic Woman.
Yeah, I think that's the one I have.
Yeah. But in the meantime, I'm just concentrating, holding the space, working through the ethers, sending out messages to all of our people that have been with us and that have made friends here and that have loved the Unity message to come back now. It's time to gather and be a family again. Yeah. And I so appreciate the faithful ones, like Edward comes every week.
Mhm.
And those who show up every week are just so devoted and, have a certain sense of like, we've been through tough times before and we can get through this.
The world survived a plague.
Yeah, the world survived a plague. Well, this Unity Church has been without a minister for periods of time before too.
Really?
Yeah, and they just rotated different people doing the talks. Now, when I ask people to do a talk, they say, "No, I'm too shy." I don't know. But you used to give talks when there was no minister. Yeah, but I've had my turn. But I'm telling you, if you, anybody, any of you, have the inspiration and the urge to do a talk for a Sunday gathering, I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to move over and share the pulpit with anybody who has the inspiration and the love to share a message. Yeah. And by the way, the messages this week, our message is, well, the theme for the month is, behold, I make all things new, and finding newness in different areas. So last week was a new kind of freedom because it was 4th of July.
Mhm.
And this week is a new kind of love.
Absolutely.
So what do you think there is new to say about love?
What is there new to say about love?
What do you think?
Let's see, what do I think of love?
Yeah.
It's a very vast, complex thing.
While you think about that, let's push the power button there so we can hear ourselves think. The air conditioner is. If I get up, they'll just see my big.
Maybe love is kind of more like a timeless thing. It's not really old or new.
Very good. I like that. Love is timeless. I think love is, the ultimate idea. It's like, it's more mysterious than God or mind or being or truth or freedom or any of the other subjects, ideas, distinctions that exist. Love is just huge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this Sunday I'm going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not giving away what I'm talking about. I'm not giving it away. It's a trade secret, people.
We'll have to tune in on Sunday.
That's right. He says you have to tune in on Sunday. That's right. A new kind of love. There was a movie done called A New Kind of Love. Did you know that?
Mm.
It came out in 1963. Stars Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward.
Oh.
And it's a romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really have any deep revelations about love. It's I guess it's saying it's a new kind of love because they come together, each of them thinking the other one is someone other than they are. And they have a lot of mistaken identity assumptions. And then when they finally get it all straight, they go, and by the way, now we're in love. So that was an entertainment from that time. But I didn't really get any ideas to extract out of that movie for my talk Sunday. But I do have a story that I'm going to tell during the talk, and I'm going to tell it now. Okay, want to hear it?
Okay.
So when I had a job one time as a hostess in a very popular restaurant, and it was the most popular kosher style delicatessen in the Washington D.C. area. In the front of the store, they had sliced kosher meats and cheeses and wines and breads, special breads. And then it's a long corridor. In the back of the store, they had a dining room where you could sit and order things off the menu, tables. And there was always a line of people waiting to get in there. So the hostess was somebody who kept the turnover going. So they always had to be, the hostess was always watching the dining room with the menus in her arm and a wet cloth to wipe the table off. The busboy had trained me that way. The busboy, his name was Jerry. He was 19 years old, African American kid, and he would keep an eagle eye on the dining room. And he, as soon as a party would get up to leave, he'd swoop down on their table with his bus pan and clear the dishes off in a flash. I would swoop down on the table with my cloth and wipe the table off and seat the next party. By the time they caught up with me, I'd say, follow me. And then I'd walk way ahead of them, wipe the table off. By the time they got there, the table was wiped off. And Jerry was putting down the silverware. And that way, we kept the dining room going and the seating turned over really quick. And people didn't have to wait any longer than absolutely necessary. Okay. So as time passed, I started to notice that this Jerry character kind of ran the whole place. Not only did he keep the dining room turned out, the turnover, the seating turnover quick, he kept the stock rotated. He brought up from the basement, he brought up the fresh wines. He made sure that in the kitchen, the sides were all fresh. He rotated the mayonnaise and kept everything fresh and refrigerated. And he just ran the whole place. The owner was a guy named Stuart Hirsch. His father had owned it before him. And they were all Orthodox Jewish family and ran a kosher place for people where people could get kosher food. So I started to realize that this Jerry really knew the restaurant business backwards and forwards, and he was only 19. And, that the owner depended on him for everything to be fresh and clean and on the up and up. So one day I say to Jerry, and Jerry was so good to me, he says, Diane, a good hostess always has her rag. That was my motto. So I say to Jerry one day, I say, Jerry, how is it that you know the restaurant business so well? And Jerry says, my dad owns 2 clubs in D.C. This was right outside of D.C., where I used to live, in Maryland, the Maryland suburbs. Tacoma Park, in fact. And I said, well, how come you're not working for your father? And he said, because he threw me out of the house. I said, why did he throw you out of the house? He says, because I won't work on Saturday night because I want to go to church on Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah. A man throws his own son out because his son wants to be in church on Sunday.
Ooh.
I mean, that's the antithesis of love, I think. That's why I'm telling it in my sermon about a new kind of love. This is what love is not.
Yeah.
It is not love in the slightest. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Jeezy peasy. I just could not get over that. And that told me so much about who Jerry was as a human being. That he stood up for what meant something to him. And one thing that meant something to him was his relationship with God and Jesus Christ. Yeah. I was so touched by that, man. So I saw him through entirely different eyes after that. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's really a lifetime exploration to sort out and define what love is for us, for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So what things have you come to think are true about love? What can you tell us what you know about love?
What do I know about love?
Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fun to talk about love, don't you think?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say is a definition that you could come up with? How would you define love?
Well, let's see. Well, you could not only just love a person, like you could probably love a pet.
Yeah.
Well, of course, when you're a child, you probably like toy. You probably love toys more,
Yes.
or
Yes.
maybe like you talk to your toys,
Yes. Yes.
and just you kind of like use your imagination.
Yeah. It's like you take delight in something.
Or imagine if you were on a stranded island and like there was no one to talk to, but you found something that like you found a possession on the island where you decide, okay, this is the one possession I'm going to speak with,
Yeah.
and just draw a face on it.
So you're saying that love is something that you attach to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you take delight in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's true. What do you think causes love to go wrong?
What causes love to go wrong? Well, let's see. Maybe various differences. Like, where, like, to a point where they can probably escalate, like, some disagreements could escalate, and where it can drive one or both parties mad, I would say.
You sound like you've seen a lot of life. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, not talking so much about myself when it comes to
Yeah.
love,
Yeah. I hear you.
but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's well, or maybe it's about myself, or maybe things I've witnessed in regards to that.
Yeah. Differences of what people want. They want different things.
Mm-hmm.
Differences in their notion of actually what is reality.
Mm-hmm. And there can be it can go either one or two ways. Like you could just drift apart, or just have just the falling out, and that's
Yeah.
to a point where it can be damaged beyond repair.
Yep.
Even though it's probably possible to repair it, but
Yeah. This business of coupling, finding someone you love to couple with, boy, it's complicated, isn't it?
oh
And
yeah.
and in like the old time stories of romance, I want to see what time it is. It is 53. Okay. Old time stories. It didn't matter what people's similarities were or backgrounds were or their what do you call it, your how you get along with somebody, what is that called?
How I get a
Your you know
companion or
your ability to be in relationship and be compatible, your compatibility.
compatibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like like let's talk about back in the day of courtly love with knights and ladies. They had no notion of compatibility.
No.
No, it was like just if you were pleased with someone's the way they look, the way they talk, the way they show up, their willingness to be with you, that's all it took. You know, they're so happy to have someone in their life that they, that it doesn't matter. There weren't that many things to have opinions about.
Yeah, I think that still is like that today.
Yeah,
in some form.
Except that now there are so many things to have opinions about, and it really tears relationships apart when people can't agree on what they want, on what they how they want to spend their time, what they're interested in, what means something to them.
Right.
So,
and I think some don't know the difference between lust and love.
You mean there's a difference? Just kidding. Yeah. Yeah.
Like be careful with that, because it could go south. Like if you're just lusting after something, it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah. Although without that, it's not going to work out either. If it's a coupling, if you're trying to have a marriage, a life partner, but if that element is not there of the physical compatibility, what he's calling lust, then you don't have much of you don't have much chance of forming a strong bond and a lasting partnership.
Mm-hmm.
But just so you know, people, I'm not going to talk about coupling in my sermon on love. I mean, we're kind of indulging in it now, but I'm not going to.
I don't want to make someone's head hurt about those kinds of things. Like, yeah, don't rush into marriage. Don't do that.
Amen. Good advice. I think you should set up an office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is it?
Think about both of you decide what you really want. Yeah. And before you jump into something like that.
Yeah. I admire people who are able to have a successful marriage over decades. And I think one of the secrets to it is that they value having a life partner. That what they want is to have a person that they can trust, that they can be interdependent with and create a life together with, and understand that two is better than one.
Yeah.
In my case, in a lot of ways, one is better than two. I mean, if I had a life partner, it would be like a third leg. Where would I put them? How would I navigate? Because my life is pretty complicated. I have to respond to a lot of different nuances. And if I had a life partner, it would have to be somebody who didn't ask questions. just helped me. Just help me. Hey, carry these boxes. Why? No, just carry them. Okay.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I feel as though as a minister, I have all these people that I love and that I partner with already. So it's not like I'm missing any partnership or companionship or closeness or love. I have all that and more, and that's what's wonderful about being in a spiritual community. Yeah. So the rest of the month, after a new kind of love, I'm going to talk about a new kind of faith, which is going to be all about how we appropriate religion. I'm really going to get into this, how unity is an alternative form of religion. And then the last one is a new kind of courage. Because I think that right now, these days, courage is the most needed thing. It's like the most important, the most used. I think we're using our courage more than we ever have before. That's what I'm saying. We have to have courage just to live in this world right now. So, all right. Well, it's time to close. Edward, would you like to say a closing prayer?
a closing prayer. I don't know what to say. I'm really bad at thinking of things on the second.
We'll just say, thank you, God, for this classing.
Thank you for this class,
Yes.
Lord.
Yes. And thank you all. Anybody who watches this, thank you for Edward. And thank you for how we have a place to sit and the internet to use and a laptop to work with and all these hearts to unite with. So it
And
is.
let's be more thankful for the community and not buildings.
Yes. Amen.
Amen.
I second that. All right. Well, goodbye, everybody. I'm going to end the stream now. And there it is.